Ted Cruz made national headlines this week when he was able to secure all 34 of Colorado's Republican delegates last Saturday at the GOP State Assembly. Donald Trump blamed the loss on the delegate election rules of the Colorado Republican Party, claiming the system was rigged. Meanwhile, Trump supporters are expected to hold a protest at the state capitol on Friday. Patty, usually we're watching this political circus of the presidential campaign from afar in other states and comments, things like that. Finally, Colorado had its chance to shine, seeing a complete delegate wipeout, Cruz taking all 34, by understanding the rules and playing by them, and Trump certainly not being able to do that. What did you make of the reaction and maybe the possible fallout?
Well, the reaction is not over yet. Just today, there is an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, of all places, by Donald Trump, making Colorado the rallying cry for this corrupt system that must be changed. What an honor that we are the rigged capital of the world. My biggest question for Donald Trump is, how is he going to get a handle on ISIS if he cannot get a handle on Colorado's election program? It's arcane, yes, but you know you need to have a ground game. And by all accounts, Ted Cruz had a great ground game in Colorado, and he's had a good one in every other state. That's something that the Trump campaign has not done. And it's one of the ways you get your delegates and you win elections. The irony of him thinking that the Colorado Republican Party's still kind of inexplicable decision last fall not to have the straw poll vote at the first caucus on March 1. The fact that Trump is now using that as something that was put in place just to defy him is pretty good, because at the time, no one was even considering the fact that Trump would go this far. So it was a funny decision. The people who went to Colorado's caucus should have had the right to make that vote. That's what put it in line. Because they didn't, it moved it to the counties and then to the state. But the Cruz, who actually showed up, had the ground game, and got the delegates, is not a surprise. That's what he got. And that Trump is going to keep whining about it is also not a surprise.
David, it didn't seem to me that Colorado's rules, while I can understand the complication of electing delegates that move forward through a precinct and a county and then to the state, well, it wasn't just a simple primary, didn't seem all that complicated to me, and also doesn't seem that the other states also have their other complicated rules. I mean, the Iowa caucus isn't exactly a walk in the park. What did you make of the situation?
Well, let's not talk mainly about the cry bully, who, when he fails, always blames somebody else. He's the opposite of a winner. Everybody wins and loses sometimes, and the people who are the real winners are magnanimous when they lose, especially when they lose because they didn't play well or barely played at all. Ted Cruz's phenomenal organization in this state, with Representative Ken Buck as his chair, Regina Thompson as his grassroots leader, performed in an outstanding way and unified the Republican Party. And that's an example of why Cruz is a candidate who might be able to win in November, because he has that strong organization, very data-driven, like Obama in 2008. And unlike Mr. Trumper Tantrum, who just thinks that if you get on TV a lot, that's all you need to do to win the presidency. Trump made the decision after his success in that run from New Hampshire to South Carolina. We're just going to dismantle our state organizations. We think we're going to wrap the whole thing up by March 15th. They're too cheap to invest in any state organizations because he doesn't have that much money. He may have a lot of golf clubs, but that's not liquid assets, and you can't really give away free rounds of golf at Mar-a-Lago to pay for the people to run organizations in the states. So he's got nothing, and he'll have nothing should he be the nominee in November. The Colorado caucus system was created in 1912. Nobody was disenfranchised. People went to their caucuses and they voted for the people they choose to send as delegates to the county assemblies. And when they do that, they could vote for whoever on whatever reason, including saying, I promise to support Cruz, I promise to support Trump, I'm diehard Kasich, whatever. Everybody who wanted to show up got a chance to vote, and this is one more indication of why Donald Trump is temperamentally a loser and unfit for the presidency.
Eric, I've seen some great spins come out of a shellacking. Usually they're sports oriented, sometimes politically oriented, but none as creative as Donald Trump was able to turn into. The fact that he would go from misspelling candidates' names on a sheet of paper at a state assembly to the whole thing is rigged and make it into all the way to the Wall Street Journal for an editorial. At least in the creativity standpoint, I've got to give him high marks. What did you think?
He's had a rough month here. This has not been the only gaffe. He is trying to turn lemons into lemonade, and he's done some of that over the last few days. He has made Colorado into a national cause celeb. I think we can start with the stipulation. I don't know if everyone around the table agrees, but I will stipulate our system, the caucus convention system, and I think it's finally been brought home this year, is long, long past its sell-by date. It's arcane, it's archaic. It is time to replace this system. I've been saying that for 20 years, but I think it's finally, the chickens have come home to roost. But it is the system we have for this particular cycle. The rules were not a state secret. They have been published and public since, I believe, last August. Somehow Ted Cruz and his people found those rules. I guess Donald Trump couldn't be bothered to find them. I tried comparing Trump in some cases almost to Obama of 8 years ago. Obama was a sensation who could fill any auditorium, any gym around the country to the rafters for people wanting to hear him speak. But he also had the back office part of it, which was meticulous organization. Trump is just a showman. There is nothing beyond the show. He thinks the idea of running for president, or perhaps being president, is to helicopter into town, get everyone all riled up through some stump speech, head back to the airport and move on. That is a part of this game, but it is not the totality of it. In Donald Trump land, it is the totality of it. Trump's going to have a good couple weeks here coming up with New York and some other states, but the math is starting to get harder and harder of how he gets to 1237 before Cleveland, or even within close shouting distance of 1237, and it's only going to get more interesting.
Natasha, Colorado always likes to be influential. We're a swing state. We enjoy that status. But usually for the general election, now we're being influential with these delegates. These 34 delegates really are a big deal now at the national convention level, especially might mean officially Trump not getting to the majority. What do you think of Colorado's newfound status of influence well before the general?
Well, I think this newfound status is now going to become the status quo. There are certainly numbers released this morning about how many people are moving to Colorado, unemployment rate being so low in Colorado. This is a state that is booming in many ways, and that's going to be economically, and that's going to be politically as well. A few months ago at this table, I kind of channeled The Sound of Music and said that the GOP's problem was, how do we solve a problem like Donald Trump? It appears that Ted Cruz's response was just to be organized. And that might actually be enough to change the outcome of where we're at right now. I do think that this situation, and especially with Colorado taking a more poignant role on the national political scene, is that whether it's in Colorado or elsewhere, it's maybe the time to get straw out of politics, like move it back to agriculture or hat making or something else. But there are better ways to tally votes in our states and to have a better and probably a more fair system, or a system that people would perceive as more fair.